The rules for this evening's forum are as follows. Each candidate will be allowed an opening statement with a maximum of 2 minutes to state his or her experience, platform, and objectives. A 15-second warning will be given before the total time has elapsed. Candidates, please finish your sentence quickly when you see the stop sign, or you will be interrupted. Opening statements will be given in alphabetical order, and the questions shall be answered in rotating order. The answers will be confined to 1 minute. All candidates have 2 minutes for a closing statement. No reference of a personal nature will be tolerated. A person's public record may be examined, but not their character. These forms are made available to encourage the voting public to focus on the issues. We ask that there be no demonstrations, such as applause or booing, of support or opposition to the candidates or their positions, and that all candidates be allowed their full time to get their point across. We will thank the candidates with applause at the end of the evening. Remember, if you have a question to write, please ask a student for a 3x5 card and raise your hand, and they will pick it up. Citizens will be electing a city council member from Ward 1, Ward 3, and at large. The candidate for Ward 1 is Judy Johnson. She is running unopposed. The two candidates for Ward 3 are Scott Aldrich and Jim Davis. The two candidates for the at-large seat are Nick Rail and Jim Willis. We will begin tonight's forum by calling on Ward 1 candidate Judy Johnson to give her opening statement.
Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters. I really appreciate this opportunity to come before you tonight with my colleagues who want to be on the City Council. It's really important for us to get a chance to meet with citizens, and this is one of those great opportunities, so thank you. It's been my honor and privilege to serve as the Ward 1 City Council member since 2009. Before that, I served as mayor of Plymouth and Plymouth Council member at large. My family and I moved to Plymouth in 1993, and we've raised our 4 children here. They went to Wayzata schools, and my last one graduated from Hopkins High School. And I'm really pleased to say that my son is married, and we have 2 grandchildren now living in Plymouth as well, and my mother lives in Plymouth. I remain dedicated to bring my in-depth knowledge, experience, and passion to this position. I'm very proud to work in a spirit of cooperation and this nonpartisan role in government, and I think that's very important in today's political environment, that we continue with a level of civility and focusing on issues. I'm a respected and tireless leader when it comes to advocacy at the state capitol on behalf of our citizens. One of my proudest moments was when the governor and legislators finally heard our pleas to fully fund and expand 494 to 3 lanes. The project will be completed this fall and will now function more safely and efficiently to serve citizens and business community throughout this part of Plymouth and certainly throughout the state. We've also put online Cheshire Lane, Peony Lane, and soon we'll be adding Vicksburg Lane to Northwest Plymouth, which will include a bridge over the CP rail, which will greatly improve safety in this corridor. We also have the Northwest Greenway, which is coming online, and that was approved by the voters in 2006. It'll be a great asset to Plymouth and will connect to trails and parks beyond our community. My goals for Plymouth also include ensuring Plymouth remains a great place to live, work, and play, setting responsible budgets as a strong fiscal steward of your tax dollars, supporting innovative public safety efforts to ensure our neighborhoods stay strong and safe, protecting our natural environment, and completing our best-in-class park system, encouraging growth and business expansion. I ask for your vote on November 8th to continue serving on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And now again, we will hear the opening statements in alphabetical order from the candidates. We're going to start with candidates from Ward 3, first with Mr. Aldrich, then followed by Mr. Davis.
My name is Scott Aldrich, and I would like to be Plymouth City Councilman. I haven't been a councilman before. This is my first time running. So I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about myself. I've lived or worked in Plymouth since 2005. I'm married. I have 3 children, Isabel, who's 6, Kennedy's 4, Thomas is 3. I work for Mortensen Construction. I'm a database administrator there, and I also run a small business. I have 2 employees. Other stuff I like to do, I like to create things and invent things. I'm currently working on inventing a children's toy called Daddy Pants right now. We're going through the prior art search and the provisional patents being filed. I'm a member of the Minneapolis Association of Realtors. I'm a member of Mensa, and I'm also a member of St. Mary's of the Lake Church. I don't watch a lot of TV. What I like to do in my spare time is I like to work. I like to learn. I like to play with my kids. Another thing you might want to know about me is I'm a very frugal person. I've been driving the same car for 15 years, and it's going to go for another 15, I think. So I ask for your vote. My name's Scott Aldrich, going for Ward 3 City Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Aldrich. Mr. Davis?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and providing me the opportunity to introduce myself to the voters of Ward 3. My name is Jim Davis, and I want to start out by telling you about my background and why I'm running for office. I've been a resident of Plymouth for 17 years. I'm a graduate of Drexel University with a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering. I hold a master's of business administration degree from York College. I work as a finance manager for a Global 500 manufacturing engineering firm. When I relocated to Minnesota 17 years ago, I looked at the many areas in the Twin Cities to move my family. We chose Plymouth because of the excellent community amenities, abundant parks and trails, safe neighborhoods, and fine schools. I currently serve on the Plymouth Planning Commission, the last 6 years as the chairman. One of my proudest accomplishments has been that the commission oversaw the orderly development of Northwest Plymouth. Prior to that, I served 3 years on the Plymouth Park and Rec Advisory Committee. I have also served as a head election judge since 2008 in Plymouth. I enjoyed these activities as I felt I was contributing to the community. I personally believe that it's important to give back to the community and to be involved in the operation of the city. When I saw that there was to be an opening on the city council, my heart and my head said it was time for me to move up to the next level. Here are my goals if elected. Maintain the strong financial position through the efficient and effective delivery of city services. Provide accessible and well-maintained parks and recreation areas that provide residents of all ages with a variety of activities. Provide the highest level of police, fire, and emergency services to the community. Support smart growth of businesses in the city. Explore opportunities for affordable housing, and maintain the city's infrastructure so that our roads are safe and efficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will hear the opening statements from the candidates for the at-large seat. We will start with Mr. Rail, followed by Mr. Willis.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone in the audience tonight for coming. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. And thank you to all the candidates here for offering your services to the community. My name is Nick Rail. I'm 38 years old. I've been a resident of Plymouth since 2001. Prior to that, I grew up at 6390 Lawndale Lane. And for those of you who know the numbering system here in the western Hennepin County, that puts me a couple blocks north of the Plymouth-Maple Grove border in Maple Grove. Most every time we left our house, we traveled south into Plymouth, whether it was going to the Wayzata schools, church, or shopping. Maple Grove was mostly rural and agricultural at the time. Plymouth was my community. Traveling south on Vicksburg Lane too many times to count, jumping the railroad tracks was a daily ritual. I witnessed the city grow from a post office, bank, and city hall to the thriving city center that we see today. I witnessed Plymouth make some mistakes. I witnessed Plymouth make some accomplishments. I witnessed Plymouth become the 6th largest city with the 4th largest economy in Minnesota. I witnessed Plymouth become one of the premier cities to live in with an exceptionally high quality of life. We are fortunate to have an excellent geographical location. We are fortunate that our predecessors attracted many businesses to our large industrial park. And most importantly, we are fortunate to have some of the best residents the state has to offer. I'm running for city council so that I can help our city maintain and build our quality of life for us and future generations. My name is Nick Rail, and I thank you for your time. I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Willis?
Thank you, and thank you also, folks, for being here tonight. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important event. Since 2005, I've been privileged to serve as your at-large council member. The Plymouth City Council has demonstrated that by working together, we serve your interests effectively. I am seeking re-election because Plymouth is headed in the right direction. Public safety services are the primary responsibility of the city. We are in the process of hiring additional full-time firefighters to improve the response times to fire calls. Our police and fire personnel are well-trained professionals. I will continue to work to ensure that our public safety services remain focused and responsive. Plymouth property taxes are among the lowest of all communities in the Twin City metropolitan area. I will work to maintain that standing. The city's parks and open spaces provide a wide range of opportunities for all our citizens. Parks and recreation programming enhance the quality of life in Plymouth. I will work to continue to ensure that our parks are maintained to high standards. The city has undertaken long-range street rehabilitation and reconstruction programs to improve and protect the taxpayer investments in these assets. Since 2010, we have reconstructed nearly 10 miles of streets and 98 miles have been repaved. I've been endorsed by Mayor Kelly Slavic, council members Judy Johnson, Jeff Boschee, Ned Carroll, Jim Prom, and other community members. I'm honored to represent you, and I ask for your vote on November the 8th for the Plymouth City Council seat at large. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. And now we will start the questions. You'll be given 1 minute to answer each questions. Again, this will happen on a rotating, irregular grid. We are going to start with the first question, and Mr. Willis will be the first one to answer, followed by Mr. Rail. The question is, what infrastructure or revitalization needs within the city do you see requiring attention during your term as a city council member?
As I noted just a few moments ago, infrastructure investments are the kinds of things that we show up for ribbon cutting ceremonies. And too often people forget that they have to be maintained. Your city council for years has set aside reserve monies to ensure that our major infrastructure is maintained and replaced as it deteriorates and wears out. We continue that practice. We do it with our equipment. We do it with our buildings, such as the City Hall, the offices, the equipment, the computers. We have reserves set aside as part of our normal infrastructure replacement program to take care of those. So I think we're well positioned, far better than most any city in the Twin City metropolitan area to meet those responsibilities.
Thank you. Mr. Rail, followed by Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. The city of Plymouth, with its age, is now finally seeing turnover in the streets, water mains, and the infrastructure that makes the city move and work. I see continuation of our proactive efforts to reconstruct streets. Our mill and overlay program on many of our streets is working great, and from all I can see is keeping costs down and keeping the streets from becoming so deteriorated that we have to actually reconstruct them. So we're going to continue those programs. Obviously, our infrastructure within our buildings and our vehicles and that will be continue to need more capital investment for improvements to keep. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, followed by Mr. Davis.
Thank you. Well, one good thing is we have a great city staff who works with the city council do planning every year with us. We have a capital improvement program, so we have programs that'll be done next year and reaching out for the next 3 to 5 years that we are actually planning for, and that then aligns with the funding. For Northwest Plymouth, one of the things I'm proud about, again, is getting Vicksburg Lane done. We received $4.7 million from the state of Minnesota through bonding, something that's never happened before, so that was great. We also, again, put Cheshire and Peony Lane online, but things yet to come for Northwest Plymouth would be repaving Schmidt Lake Road. That's really in bad shape. And Fernbrook Lane looks like it's taken mortar shells lately. So once we get these other Northwest corridors fully open, then we can take, and we'll be approaching those 2 corridors as well. I do want to say, too, that we've had $40+ million of infrastructure improvements in Plymouth over recent years, and we've not had to raise any taxes or increase our levy to do so. And that's really because of the prudent planning that our staff and council have done over many years to make sure that we smooth over those infrastructure improvements throughout our community.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
I guess I would agree with what Councilmember Johnson and Willis has said. The whole key to infrastructure is capital planning and maintenance of those efforts after they're in use. And the city has, as Judy was saying, a great staff who has planned out what's going to need work and how we're going to fund it. And I would continue in that vein. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Aldrich.
Yes. I believe that Plymouth has a really good infrastructure. I think the revitalization is needed with a handful of private property owners that own some properties that are kind of aged. For example, there's some land, the Four Seasons Mall is a huge example where we need some revitalization. But east of Lattice, there's some raw land there with a parking lot or something. You can't go there, it's just private property. There's also the land that's over by the senior housing building that just got built a few years ago. And it's just sitting there with no trees, just some weeds. And I think we really need to focus on kind of giving these private owners a kick in the rear to kind of, get them to revitalize their land and make it better.
Thank you. Our next question, Mr. Aldrich, you get to answer it first, followed by Mr. Davis. What is your position on the issue of affordable housing in Plymouth?
Yes, affordable housing. I am a property owner. I own some rental properties. I have 23 units, and I'd say about half of those units that I own are Section 8 properties. So I think it's a great program. I think that it kind of depends, though. You got to kind of have a balance. You can't have it everywhere, but I think it's a good program, and I think that we should have it in Plymouth. That's where I stand.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, followed by Mr. Rail.
Yes. On the Planning Commission, we've had many projects come before us, and we're always inquiring about the affordability of the houses that they're building. And one of the biggest issues is it costs so much for the land. So it's very difficult to have what you consider really affordable housing. But the city has some programs that are available to help buyers build or buy a home. But it is a difficult situation in Plymouth, but I will continue to work and see what we can do to make some houses affordable.
Thank you. Mr. Rail, followed by Mr. Willis.
Well, I would concur with both these gentlemen here that the current program that we have, I don't see any problems with. The challenges that were pointed out do exist. Land is expensive. I'd also like to point out that Plymouth is nearing full build-out in its rural land. So any affordable housing in the future, past the time that is fully built out, would have to be redevelopment or existing housing. And the affordable housing we have, it's working. I believe we have mandates from the state or Metropolitan Council on some of this, and I'm sure we follow it, and we will continue to follow that. And affordable housing is necessary because people need to be able to have a home, and Plymouth is a great place to live, and people who don't have the means to live in Plymouth or anywhere need the means to have a home.
Thank you. Mr. Willis.
Thank you. The truth of the matter is, with respect to affordable housing, is that it's very difficult to produce. Raw land in Plymouth, in the northwest part of the city, right now costs at least $200,000 per acre. And then on top of that, you have to pile on development costs. The real opportunity for communities such as Plymouth to provide affordable housing is to maintain the housing stock that we already have. Starting from generally the east and southeastern part of the city, where urban development moved from Minneapolis through Robbinsdale, New Hope to Plymouth, that's the older housing stock. That housing needs to be preserved and maintained through private ownership, preferably. But in terms of numbers, that to me is the place where we can find the most likely resource of affordable housing. We can't do it through government programs. There aren't sufficient resources to do it, even though we've done some of that through our HRA.
Thank you. And our last person to answer the question, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Well, one of the good things we've got going for us in Plymouth is we have our own Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Right now, I'm the liaison to that group from the council, and I'm a past commissioner. As a council member and as the past mayor, I have been a staunch supporter of affordable, or should we say workforce housing. And one of the ways we do that is through our Section 8 program, which we administer through the city of Plymouth. We've built, we own and operate 2 senior living projects that really help for transitioning our senior community into some more affordability. We worked for Habitat for Humanity to put some home ownership in our community. When I was mayor, I worked very closely, and certainly as council member, worked very closely with Interfaith Outreach and Community Partners and PRISM. We've done a lot of sleep outs to raise awareness in the community. And I think one thing I'm most proud about is the fact that we've turned around a city that would be against affordable housing in our community, and now we're a city of advocates for it. So that's very important. So I won't go on. There are a lot of great comments that were made, but I think Plymouth is very progressive on this front, and the Met Council is very proud of the work that we've done, and we should continue to do that.
Thank you. Our next question, Ms. Johnson, you're the first one to answer it, followed by Mr. Davis. What alternatives to generating revenue other than taxes would you explore?
Thank you. That's a great question. Well, one thing that to keep in mind is we have our general levy that supports general operations through the city of Plymouth, but we have enterprise funds too throughout the community, such as the ice arena and our water fund and things like that are also self-sustaining. So we have to keep an eye on all of that along with the general operations which come on top of the city levy. But one of the ways to really help keep taxes and affordability for our homeowners in Plymouth is to make sure that we've got a vibrant business community. So if you're a homeowner in Plymouth, you're paying about 22 cents out of the property tax pie to the city of Plymouth. The rest is going to the county, your school district, and other taxing jurisdictions. But if we can really work to grow and continue to expand our business community, accelerating capital investment, growing good paying jobs, that will offset the taxes that our homeowners pay. So if we can grow that business tax pie, it will reduce the impacts on homeowners. And I've been a leader around that effort through getting an economic development manager who's putting together some great strategies in our community to drive those revenues.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, followed by Mr. Aldrich.
I would agree that we have plenty of mechanisms to raise tax revenue for the city, and so I probably would not support any new taxes, new kind of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aldrich.
Yes, it's a difficult question. Sorry. It's kind of a difficult question to answer because I'm not a big fan of raising taxes on people, but a couple thoughts that came to my head that I'm not sure the feasibility, but it's something to look at. One thing is that Plymouth owns a lot of land around the city, and I think it's just sitting there. Maybe we do something with that. Maybe we produce some cash flow with that property, or we liquidate some property. That's an idea. Another idea would be similar to the franchise fees that we have with the with our gas companies. Maybe with other utilities, we have different types of franchise fees. So you have your electric bill, and you have an extra $1 a month added to that. That's an idea. That's kind of what I can think of off the top of my head, but again, I'm not a big fan of it, but if we needed to do it, those are some ideas I have.
Thank you. Mr. Willis, followed by Mr. Rail.
The property tax has always been the workhorse for local government, and I don't think there's going to be any change in that for the foreseeable future. It's a tax that is easily collected, and it's reliable. The other sources of income that we might get, and some states have it, is a local income tax. I don't think that's going to happen in Minnesota anytime soon, but that is a device that's used in a number of states. We do have some franchise fees already in place, and those fees help defer costs such as street maintenance and reconstruction. You can't. A fee, though, is really a tax in a clothing of ease to put money in our pockets, frankly, without skinning the cat, which is the taxpayer. It comes out of your pocket. So I don't have any magic bullets. In all my years in public life. I haven't found a cornucopia of money that is available.
Thank you. Mr. Rail?
Well, when the question was asked, I thought to myself, how can we significantly raise money without raising taxes? And I think that if someone has the answer to that, we're all ears. Because the amount of taxes that we collect and the amount of money that we could raise outside of taxes is quite insignificant. Now, with that said, I am a big fan of user fees. When people use things, they should pay for them. Now, Plymouth doesn't have a lot of user fees, which I kind of like because our taxes are relatively low, we have good amenities, and we really don't need user fees. But user fees are definitely something that could be explored to raise more money. But again, it's going to be very insignificant compared to what we collect in actual property taxes. And, you know, business taxes are still a tax. So Judy mentioned business taxes, but business taxes are still a tax.
Thank you. Our next question, the first person to answer it will be Mr. Rail, followed by Mr. Willis. How do you think water quality issues in Plymouth lakes and streams should be addressed by the city?
Well, I think the biggest thing that Plymouth can do to impact water quality is continue to be the leader in the state and be even a stronger leader in our snow removal and de-icing work. I'm not sure that we have much control over other areas that are affecting our water other than sediment and salt introduction into our other chemicals. I think we're using chemicals much more corrosive and severe than our regular table salt like we used to use. So I would work as a city council member to make sure that Plymouth is using absolute best practices in that regard to our snow and ice removal and continue to be a leader even in the nation to try new things and reduce the amount of salt and sediment that enters our waterways.
Thank you. Mr. Willis, followed by Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. The federal government has established clean water standards that are applicable to all units of government throughout the United States. Those apply to us here in Minnesota and administered through the state. The city right now is working and has been working for years to clean up the water, primarily trying to reduce phosphorus. Phosphorus is one of the most difficult chemicals for us to get out of our system, but the city provided leadership years ago when Judy Johnson was mayor to ban phosphorus fertilization. It's now banned throughout the state. We have several watersheds in the city, 4 separate watersheds. Each of them have a legal status in terms of trying to meet the Clean Water Act standards for removal of phosphorus and the salts from our water bodies. And I think with their cooperation and with the programs we already have in place, we will continue to do that and meet our obligations required by law.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, followed by Mr. Aldrich.
Thank you. I just want to build on some of the things that Councilmember Willis said. He's right. We have 3 watersheds in 1 watershed district. They're a little bit different, but we work very closely with them, and we have representation on all of those watersheds. And we work jointly with them on long-range plans and projects each year that are mandated by the Clean Water Act that was referenced. So Plymouth is very progressive in this manner, and we were the first city that ever banned the application of phosphorus in our community, knowing that that was one of our biggest challenges. And we have stepped up street sweeping, and we have looked at the types of chemicals that we're putting down the streets, and I think Plymouth is a model city in those regards. So we are also looking at doing different types of development. So if you look throughout the community for 50 years of development, you'll see that we used to fill in wetlands in the 70s and 80s. That doesn't happen anymore. We have really aggressive tree buffer, or I should say wetland buffers. We're doing a lot more with NERP ponding, National Urban Runoff Program ponding on sites, and trying to make sure that we're filtering out those pollutants before they get in our waterways. So I want to be aggressive on that and continue our progressive actions around water quality and the mandates that we're forced to administer here locally.
Mr. Aldrich.
Yes, I have to disclose, I don't know a lot about this topic, but these are my thoughts on it. I do know Bassett Creek Watershed goes through Ward 3. That's the ward that I want to represent. And I'm not aware of the exact water quality issues, but one thing I had thought of is we could try to think of the native plants that are more efficient at cleaning the water and try to encourage the growth in the ponds and the swamps and stuff like that we have. And I do like that we have a lot of ponds and swamps and waters and, creeks in the city. But that's kind of the idea I had. Again, I don't know a lot about the water quality issues of the city, but I would definitely learn get to know them if I became councilman.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Davis.
As has been said, the federal government has a lot of rules about water quality, the Clean Water Act being the primary one. The state has also a lot of rules about taking care of the bodies of water in the city. And so the city has to do some things at a smaller level to take care of our water. One of the things we do is for new developments, there are requirements for holding ponds so that water doesn't go off of the property untreated. The sediment gets settled in and the ponds get cleaned out periodically. And there's also a program for storm sewer infiltration where you can take ownership of a storm sewer near your home and protect from stuff going down there that will eventually get to a holding pond or a river. So those are the kind of things the city's been doing to keep the water quality high and make it even better.
Thank you so much, candidates. Our next question will first be answered by Mr. Aldrich, followed by Mr. Davis. What programs do you propose to assist seniors with major home repairs, such as replacing windows or a furnace, and to help seniors stay in their homes?
That's a good question. I know that there's like Brush with Kindness, and there's already programs out there for that. As far as what programs would I propose to improve those situations, I do not have a program offhand that I can think of. I do know that they are out there, and I have participated in those, but I'm sorry, I just don't have an answer.
Mr. Davis, followed by Mr. Willis.
I have kind of a similar position. I don't have any programs that I can think of to do, so I would not propose here any new programs. But there are a lot of programs that are available through community organizations, through the county, and I think we should do the more publicizing those programs so that seniors are aware of the availability of funds to help them in their situation. So I would go with publicity.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Now, Mr. Willis, followed by Mr. Rail.
Thank you. The city already has programs dealing with this issue. They're administered through the city's Housing and Redevelopment Authority. I was a member of that for a number of years. The HRA has money set aside that they receive from the federal government, and their community development block grant funds, that's the term. And some of those monies are set aside by the HRA annually to assist low and income individuals and seniors with income limitations, with cost benefit type of analysis to give them new windows or heating plants, roofs, what have you, to make the homes habitable for years to come. And it's a program that I think is highly to be commended, and I think it is reasonably well publicized through our city newsletters to the senior community.
Thank you. Mr. Rail?
Well, I'd like to focus on additional items besides the HRA and the city programs. I think the work in this regard is best done actually through private organizations and charities. We have a great organization here in Plymouth called Interfaith Outreach. I believe Interfaith Outreach helps people with this. I give to Interfaith Outreach. I encourage everyone here to give to Interfaith Outreach. And Interfaith Outreach helps many people in our community with problems, whether it be with food, shelter, heating, transportation. And I just think that what we've done in the HRA can be supplemented and built upon with outside charity.
Thank you. Finally, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Just to add on what's already been said, again, through our HRA, we administer Community Development Block Grant funding, which is federal funding that flows through our city. And actually, we do fund IOCP, Interfaith Outreach and Community Partners. They come to us every year with their requests, along with many other organizations that are serving our citizens throughout the community, including our seniors. And additionally, we don't want to forget about the east side of our community, which is served by PRISM, People Responding in Social Ministry. So there really is a partnership with the city and the nonprofits in our community that exists, along with the city programs that we also administer on our own. And I think Plymouth has also been very proactive with our senior community by building and putting together our Plymouth Creek Community Center, where we can provide programming, working with senior community services and other organizations within our community to make sure that seniors can stay in their homes for as long as possible, and providing the level of services that they need when they need it. And then when that's not possible, making sure there's good senior housing out there for them, such as the 2 facilities that Plymouth owns and operates.
Thank you very much. And I believe this will be our final question of the evening. Ms. Johnson, you will start out, followed by Mr. Aldrich. What do you see as the greatest challenge to starting or growing a business in the city? And what, if anything, should the city government do to make it easier?
That is a great question. My day job, which I didn't mention in my opening remarks, is that I'm the Director of Investor Relations at Greater MSP. We're the Regional Economic Development Partnership for the 16-county MSP region. And one of the things that I've really worked hard on with the council and our city staff is to put in place an economic development manager and a strategy in place so that we can grow and retain the jobs that we have here in our community. But additionally, we've also now partnered with Hennepin County, and we've got an open to business program that we've launched this past year, which allows for a little bit of funding from the city, entrepreneurs, small business owners, people that want to open a shop or open a business in our community to get those resources to write a business plan, learn how to access funding, get some guidance from other retired CEOs or people who know the ropes and can help them open up and become successful. And the comment earlier about expanding our business community to reduce the burden on the homeowners in our community, it's not about raising business taxes. It's actually trying to lower them by expanding the base and growing jobs in our business community. That's how we'll be successful.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Next up will be Mr. Aldrich, followed by Mr. Davis.
Yes, I personally have started a business in Plymouth. I don't think Plymouth really has any sort of restrictions or impediments to starting a business in Plymouth. Plymouth is actually pretty great. The difficult part is knowing about workers' comp insurance and unemployment and business insurance, and if you're properly licensed, stuff like that. It'd be nice to have a resource that you could call to ask questions. Hey, I want to start a business. What do I need to do? Instead of finding out later that you did something wrong. But I don't even know if that's a service that the city should provide. I think there's probably services like that out there provided by the state. I'm just not aware of them. But I think Plymouth does a pretty good job at encouraging business.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, followed by Mr. Rail.
As Mr. Aldrich said, the biggest impediment to a new business is knowing the regulations that are imposed on businesses. As he said, there's tons of them out there that you definitely have to need help to be able to start a business. And I think that would be our economic development agency could provide, and probably does provide, assistance to business startups so that they can get off on a firm, good footing and be of value to the community.
Thank you. Mr. Rail?
I have to answer this question through personal experience, since I am a business owner in Plymouth, and I have to view it through my lens. And what I see as the biggest impediment of starting a business in Plymouth is the lack of variety of business property available. I think we have far too much office space and warehouse space that is vacant. The city is doing, the developers are doing something about it now. We're seeing office space and warehouse space changed over, reconfigured, especially along Vicksburg Lane, I know around Lowe's. But that's the biggest impediment that I see from my business, because I run an auto repair business, and it's hard to find places to do that in the city of Plymouth.
Thank you very much. And finally, Mr. Willis.
The one of the best things we can do to help business is to keep our tax rates as low as practicable so that their expense of operations isn't exorbitant. We have, as I said earlier, very low property taxes compared to most other cities. The other thing we have is we have the infrastructure to support this. We have the police and the fire departments. We have the water and the sewer systems to meet the fire flow requirements of various businesses, particularly high quality, high technical ones that are coming into us right now. Through our EDA, Economic Development Authority, I think you're going to see us being more proactive in terms of working on the redevelopment side of trying to attract business to this city. And that's right now we're starting to entertain a proposal to redevelop the Four Seasons Mall as an example.
Well, I apologize, Candace, but it looks like we do actually have, you guys have been so great about adhering to time. We have time for one more question, and so I'm going to give you a tough one. Mr. Willis, you're going to get to start as the first person to answer, followed by Mr. Rail. Given recent events in the news regarding police and citizen interaction, what are your ideas for community policing and training for our police department in handling crises?
Thank you. It's an excellent question, and it's very timely, and it's one that's probably one of the more serious questions that confronts all cities throughout the country. Here in Plymouth, we are a suburban community. We're not an inner city, and we don't have some of the social problems that give rise to the problems that some other cities have seen. There is no question in my mind that there have been cases throughout the country, well publicized, of police, I'll call it aggression against people. And it's got to stop. Fortunately, in our community, under the leadership of our public safety director, Chief Goldstein, he's already leading the way in that effort. His officers are getting, one, they're professionals, they've been trained, highly trained, trying to avoid serious confrontations. And the next step now is to have all the officers get further training on how to deal with people who have mental problems and mental issues, because those are the people that are frequently coming into dangerous conflict with some police officers. Not in this city, however.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rail, you'll be next, followed by Ms. Johnson.
Well, it depends on what type of crisis we're dealing with, but I would like to see our police, actually, nationwide. This is not just a city issue, but definitely need to train our police officers to identify when people are not being criminals, but they have mental illness, so that we can treat them differently when we're dealing with people that are mentally ill versus conducting criminal activity. I believe police officers need to do a better job of de-escalating situations, especially when the reason for the confrontation was minor in the first place. Why do we need to take a minor offense and escalate it by bringing the police in and doing something aggressively when we could avoid confrontation altogether and back off, de-escalate the situation, and everybody goes home?
Thank you, Mr. Rail. Ms. Johnson, followed by Mr. Davis.
Thank you. This is a great question, since public safety is one of the first charges of local government. I'm very proud of our public safety director and police chief, Mike Goldstein. He started out in the city as a police reserve, actually an explorer when he was still in high school, and rose all the way through the ranks. And he is a great leader. He is well trained, and he believes in providing resources to the people who work for him in both the police department and now the fire department. And the city council over many years has really given our police officers the resources they need for effective training, efficient training, and working with our community so that we are proactively community policing. So for example, through our apartment communities, we've established great relationships with them. Through our school communities, we've established excellent relationships with them, and we do active training drills as well for any of those potential crises that could face our community. And with regards to those who face mental illness, there's a lot of training that our police officers go through that as well. And trust me, they know the people out there. They receive those calls, and they're working compassionately with them to try to get them into the services that will best provide help for them. So I'm really proud of our community and want to continue on that path.
Mr. Davis, and followed by Mr. Aldrich.
That is a very timely question, as witnessed just last week, where another suburban Twin Cities community found themselves on the national news as one of their officers had a confrontation with a resident. And I think one of the things that if we're not doing, we should do is training our police officers in de-escalation of these situations. I know I've been stopped with the police for traffic, and it's a stressful situation. Your heart's pounding, and you can say things that you don't mean, and it can really spin out of control if you're not careful. So one of the things I think the officers have to have training for is how to de-escalate these situations. So it's all about training.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Aldrich.
Yes, it's a very relevant question. If anyone here watched the city council meeting last week, there was a woman that came in, she's a woman of color, and she came and talked about her experience with the police of Plymouth, and she was tearing up. She was super sad. I was tearing up. I think half the people up here were tearing up. She had a really bad experience with the police. I think what's important is that maybe if there's such a thing out there, to train the police of, we're white, most of the police are white, and we perceive the police differently than people of color do. And maybe the police need training on the actions that they do might be perceived differently. But the one thing that I also, I disagree with, like what happened in Edina, if somebody does a crime, they should be punished for the crime. They shouldn't just get a free, a free pass like they gave in Edina. I totally disagree with that. But we definitely should not have our police harassing people like that woman who was here. That was terrible. I felt really bad for her. And, and also, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. This concludes the Plymouth City Council portion of this evening's event. Please join me in thanking the candidates with a round of applause. What? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the closing statement. It's not on my sheet. Our candidates will have an opportunity for a closing statement now, and we will do it in reverse order that they gave their opening statement. So we will start with Ms. Johnson, and, oh, no, she didn't, sorry, I'm looking at my chart, jumping ahead. Starting with Mr. Aldrich. No, let me see. Okay, we're going to do it reverse, starting with Mr. Willis, followed by Mr. Rail, Mr. Davis, Mr. Aldrich, and Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. I'm seeking re-election to the City Council to contribute to the continued growth of the community about which I'm so passionate. I'm deeply committed to continuing to build and nurture a community that is safe and welcoming to families and businesses. I will continue to work collaboratively for excellent public safety services, high-quality parks, trails, and recreational facilities for all, while keeping our city property taxes among the lowest in the metropolitan area. We have much to be proud of as a community and even higher goals to attain. Maintaining the exceptional quality of life we enjoy in Plymouth requires long-term collaborative planning, open and respectful discussion, and a commitment to excellence on the part of all. Plymouth is a welcoming and a well-rounded community of 75,000 residents, reflecting the increasing diversity of the metropolitan region. Longtime residents welcome their new neighbors, many of whom have chosen to live in Plymouth for the safe, family-friendly environment that we have created. Everyone in our city has the opportunity to live in safe and well-planned neighborhoods with abundant opportunities to enjoy our natural environment with their families and neighbors. Education is a high priority to all of us. Plymouth is privileged to serve by 4 excellent public school districts: Wayzata, Robbinsdale, Osseo, and Hopkins. Our schools provide our children with the educational opportunities that propel them to fulfill their dreams and attain their aspirations. Plymouth also attracts excellence in business. There are nearly 54,000 people employed by businesses in our city, jobs that range from public service to the arts, medicine, and technology. I am proud to have contributed to the shared vision that Plymouth has become, and I am excited by the prospect of how we can grow together. I am honored to represent you, and I ask for your vote on November 8th for Plymouth City Council at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Now Mr. Rail, followed by Mr. Davis.
So, what is the job of the City Council? What do they really do? City Council's job is to hire and maintain a city manager that runs the city's day-to-day operations. The City Council's job is to represent the residents of Plymouth. The City Council's job is to make decisions on behalf of those residents. Those decisions start as choices, and those choices generally come before the City Council either directly or indirectly from city staff, committees, residents, or other governmental agencies. Then it's the Council's job to study the facts surrounding these choices, gather input from sources including residents, city staff, legal, developers, and whatever other sources may be prudent. And finally, it's the Council's job to discuss and debate the outcomes of the consequences of those choices until a decision can be made. It is in this capacity that I believe that I'm an excellent candidate for the City Council. I'm a listener, I'm a problem solver, I have the ability to learn new things and grasp new concepts quickly and efficiently. I'm a critical thinker, I'm a collaborator. I promise the residents and the council to deliver thoughtful insight on those choices facing the city. I promise to truly listen to all the concerns of all our residents and take action on them. I hope many of you listening tonight know me and know I speak the truth when I say these things. If not, I encourage you to ask others about me. And finally, I ask for your vote. Thank you. My name is Nick Rail, and please vote Nick Rail.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
I hope you found tonight's forum informative. I believe that it's important to give back to the community and be involved in the operation of the city, as I said before. That's why I'm running for City Council representing Ward 3. Right now, the city is well managed and in a strong financial position. Property taxes are among the lowest in the metropolitan area. Our city has an in-depth 10-year financial plan that balances out projected revenues with modest increases, projected spending with modest increases in the tax levy. Our city has a top-notch financial rating and very little debt. My focus will be to maintain this track record of success, as well as to look for additional opportunities to improve the city. As I have been knocking on doors and listening to the residents of Ward 3, but not during Viking games, I am learning what issues are important to them. I want to be your voice on City Council. Plymouth is one of the most desirable cities in the Twin Cities to live. I want to do my part to keep it that way. I believe that I have the knowledge, experience, and enthusiasm to do a great job. My name is Jim Davis, and I'm asking for your vote on November 8th. I want to thank you all for coming tonight and watching at home, on your TV, tablet, phone, or other mobile device. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aldrich?
Yes, my name is Scott Aldrich, and I want to be Plymouth City Councilman for Ward 3. As I've gone out talking to people about being a councilman, they say, well, what are you running on? What are your issues? And I had a few things, with my limited scope of knowledge of what's going on in Plymouth, and kind of rattle those off. But after a while, I kind of thought about it. And really, my issues aren't what I think the issues are. The issues are really what the people in Ward 3 think they are. And so your issues are going to be my issues. And I have a lot of experience in my professional career. I don't have a lot of experience, government experience. But experience can be learned and gained. There's certain components of a person that you just can't learn and you just can't gain. And I'm a very fast learner. I'm very creative. I'm never too proud to admit I don't understand something. And when I don't understand something, I'll ask questions to figure it out, or I'll research to figure it out. And I'm good at analysis and just, figuring things out. And so with that, I ask for your vote, and I will do a good job, and I will work hard at it. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Well, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for presenting this opportunity for us to speak to the voters of Plymouth. And I really just want to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, it's been so fabulous to serve the community, and certainly Ward 1. We've got a lot of things facing us as we continue to develop, and I've enjoyed working so closely with each and every resident that comes forward, and homeowners associations. I know we can be very successful to accomplish all of our objectives and still grow in a methodical way that makes sense for our community. I also want to say I'm really proud of the tenor and the debates that we have here at the City Council. We don't agree on everything, but we know how to agree to disagree and have really robust debates with the goal goal in mind that we want to move our community forward and really do our best on behalf of our citizens. I think that's the true definition of public service. And I'm really proud of the people here tonight that are currently serving or want to serve the city of Plymouth. Regardless of the outcomes of this election, one thing that Plymouth is really good at doing, and that is engaging and involving everybody. So for everybody on stage here tonight, I would be honored to serve with you on the city council, and no matter how those outcomes come on November 8th, we will make sure that everybody has a place to serve, because that's how we want to progress. We want to engage and find a role for everybody. If you raise your hand, you will be invited to make a difference in our community. So with that, I'm Judy Johnson. I'm the Ward 1 council member. For more information, you can go to voteforjudy.com, follow me on social media, and I hope to have your vote on Election Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you for being flexible. We appreciate you being here, and please now join me for a round of applause and thanking our candidates. And this concludes this Plymouth City Council portion of this evening's event.
Thank you.
Thanks. We will now begin the second portion of this evening's event, the Hennepin County Commissioner District 7 event. The League of Women Voter Wayzata Plymouth area invited Jeff Johnson and Wayne Pollock, candidates running for Hennepin County Commissioner 7, to participate in a candidate forum. Candidate Wayne Pollock declined to participate. According to the League of Women Voters Minnesota candidate participation policy adopted this year in 2016, if a candidate declines to participate in the candidate forum, the event will still be held. Jeff Johnson agreed to attend the candidate forum and will now give a 5-minute statement introducing himself and discussing his priorities.
Am I in the right spot?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
So I can just go?
You can just go. Please welcome Jeff Johnson, candidate for Hennepin County Commissioner, District 7.
Great, thank you. Well, I am Jeff Johnson. I have been representing Western and Northwestern Hennepin County for...
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'll start over. I'm Jeff Johnson. I've been representing Western and Northwestern Hennepin County for the past almost 8 years on the county board, and I am running for re-election. I live in Plymouth and have for the past 25 years with my wife, Sandy. And with one of our 2 boys, we have a son, Rolf, who's a sophomore at Wayzata High School, and our older son just graduated and is a freshman at Iowa State University. I see my job really on the county board as twofold. One is I consider myself a voice for what I call the often forgotten property taxpayer in Hennepin County. We have a $1.9 billion annual budget in Hennepin County, which is larger than several states. And our property tax levy the past several years has increased at many times the rate of inflation. And I think we on the county board do a really good job, and I think this is important, we do a really good job of focusing on the people who have needs in the county and the people who receive services that are funded by the county. Sometimes I don't think we do as good a job of focusing on those who are paying for those services, the taxpayers. And I like to try to speak up for them in several ways. One way is to frequently ask difficult questions. Sometimes questions that make people uncomfortable about the programs that we maybe have been funding for decades in the county. I also occasionally vote no, and usually alone. We don't often say no on the county board, but sometimes I think you need to say no, especially when you have a budget that's $1.9 billion. And then I think most importantly, I am always pushing for us to, as a county board, better prioritize those things that are the most important. And make sure that we are placing our energy and your money into those things that are most important. And for me, those priorities should be public safety. I don't think there's any more basic function of government than to keep people safe from criminals. It should be transportation with a focus on county roads. Most of the major arterial roads in Hennepin County that aren't state or federal highways are county roads, and we should make sure they're safe and adequate and in good repair. And then maybe more importantly than any is to help the most vulnerable people in the county, our most vulnerable residents, in particular those who are physically or developmentally disabled, in some cases the elderly, certainly children, and people who have mental health issues. It's an extremely important part of what the county does, and we should make sure we are doing it as well as we possibly can. The other role that I believe I play is to push very hard and consistently that we are always changing the way we do things, that we are always asking the question, which programs are working and which programs are not. You fund thousands and thousands of programs through your county property tax. Some of them work extremely well at changing people's lives and making their lives better, and others don't. And we don't always do a great job of asking the questions and demanding measurement and positive outcomes. So I do believe, especially when you look at the demographic changes that are coming to Hennepin County, we need to change the way we're providing services, or we're simply not going to be able to afford to move forward the way we have been the past several decades. It has been truly an honor to serve you as your Hennepin County Commissioner these past 8 years, and it would be an honor to do so again for one more term. So I ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Please join me in a round of applause for Mr. Johnson. This concludes this evening's forum. Please note that there will be a constitutional amendment on your ballot. It reads, "Shall the Minnesota Constitution be amended to remove state lawmakers' power to set their own salaries, and instead establish an independent, citizens-only council to prescribe salaries of lawmakers?" You must vote yes or no. Failure to vote on this will be a no vote. League of Women Voters has a fact sheet available for your viewing at our table or on our website, lwvmn.org. Thank you to our audience, both present and viewing, as well as the participants, for being here tonight. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, November 8th, or vote prior by absentee or direct ballot. The candidates will be available for a while should anyone have anything further they would like to discuss with them. Once again, thank you all for coming. The League of Women Voters welcomes new members, both men and women. Please visit our membership table in the entry area. Thank you.